I got an email today asking about what to do on a cello bridge. This is from a student that's taking a class from me, was just asking a couple clarifying questions, so I thought I'd answer them. So the question was, when we're carving a bridge, do I really need to have something that spreads the feet of the bridge? And then what do I do about the heart of the cello bridge? If there's already a heart there, do I need to carve more? Those are both really good questions. Let's answer them today. So when we're looking at the cello, and we've got this instrument strung up, there's a tremendous amount of string pressure pushing down on the bridge. On a cello, it's around 65 to 75 pounds of pressure depending on the strings we have. And when we put that much pressure down, it's going to move the top. So the top is going to come from being curved to be a little bit more flat. And it's going to push the feet of the bridge out just a little bit. So when you're carving the bridge, you don't have any strings on. So there's no pressure on the top. And there's no pressure on the bridge itself pushing down. So we actually need to create that pressure artificially by pushing these feet out a little bit. Now there's two things that we can do. You can go get one of these bridge foot expanders that has this little screw inside of it, and you come in and put that expander on. And we put about a millimeter to 2 millimeters of spread on those feet, and that's going to give us enough spread to where when I set this down, now it's ready that when I set it down, I can come in here and mark the arch that I want, and it's going to simulate those feet being spread out when they're under tension. Now, if you don't have one of these guys, it's no big deal. Let me show you the other way you can measure this. What you need is a dowel, and I normally want to use about a 3/8 inch dowel. This one's a 1/4 inch dowel. It's a little bit thinner, but if we're making a new one today, I'm simply going to lay this against the furthest outstretched part of that bridge foot, which is right there. And I'm going to use my pencil, and I'm going to mark when it's on that same spot over here, so furthest out spot here and here. I'm going to come out here and mark just a little bit wide. And the reason being is I can always sand down. I don't have to cut it longer. You can't cut it longer, but I can always sand it back down into the size that I want. So then I'm just going to trim this off with a saw or whatever you've got. Now I'm going to take this dowel and I'm simply going to shape it. I've got just a couple different grits of sandpaper here on a flat board. You can just take a sheet of paper out and lay it on the table for all we care. We're just going to round these corners off just a little bit. Make sure it's nice and flat. Do this on both sides. Nice and flat, and I'm going to round the corners out by just spinning those on the edges. Just like that. Now if we take this, we kind of put it in here and pull that bridge foot open a little bit, and that's still a little too tight. So I'm just going to sand this off some more. For now I can get it in here. And I've got that tension and spread in these feet. Now I want to make sure that the dowel's not sticking out on either side. That way when I go to do the French facing and cambering of the facing of the bridge, that the dowel's not sticking out when I'm laying it flat on any surface. But now I'm ready to go with those feet spread out, and I can do my marking. The other question that was asked was, if I already have a heart here, do I need to do any carving on it? Well, you notice this bridge came factory. This is exactly what came from the factory on this particular setup. And notice that we've got the French facing here, so it's been thinned out this way. But my wings, the corners here, and the heart are still perfectly flat. There's no shaping to it. To be honest, that's probably just fine. You probably don't need to do anything more in order for an instrument to play. But if you want it to sound better, yeah, we can remove some material. Anytime we take mass out of the instrument or out of the bridge, we're going to open up certain sound qualities. Now this is a whole chapter of bridge tuning on what we can do to the instrument. But just real basics, I'm going to take a little bit of material off of two different places on this bridge, and I'll show you where right now. In this heart, I'm going to take my thin chisel, and I'm going to come in where this is centered up, and I'm going to lay this side of the chisel in there. I'm going to angle up fairly steep, and I'm going to take this material off. Now again, make sure your chisels are really sharp. And I'm going to take some material out of that heart. And I'm going to do that on both sides. So now I'm going to line this side up at the center there. And I'm going to take some material out of that heart. And I want to do that on both sides. These points do not need to come down to a perfect point or a perfect sharp tip, but I do want to take material out of this bridge heart in order to open the sound quality of the instrument up and help the student succeed better. I'm going to try to get both sides even and clean. Like that. That's what I want out of the heart. So I'm going to take some material out on these sides here. The other thing I'm going to take material out of are these wings here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of draw my line in my eye from this point over to here. I'm going to come in and take some material out of that wing. I'm doing this on my wood bench. You see how I cut up some material on my wood bench. Do this on a cutting board or something that you don't really care about, because you're going to put that chisel into that, that surface, whatever you're on. This is where it's really important to make sure you've got sharp tools. Now what I want to look for is consistency from this side to this side. I want these angles to be the same. So this side over here right now is more steep than this one, so I'm going to take just a hair more material out of this side. In order to even that up a little bit. I actually just overdid it on this side, so I'm going to take just a sliver off this side because I'm a nerd and picky. There we go. And on this side, I need to take more out of the back on this one as well. And for a school level cello, that's probably all I need to do. I want to check and make sure that my bridge height is correct up over top of the fingerboard. I want to make sure that my cambrian is matching the fingerboard. And then if I can take some of the material out of the heart and out of these wings, that's plenty to get this cello playing at a much different level and far more open and far more resonant and far more responsive for the player so they can have a much better playing experience. I hope this answers both questions. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at steve@repairmasterclass.com and I'll be sure to answer them on email, or better yet, do a video like this for you. We'll talk to you soon. Now I'm ready to come in here and mark.